Get off your
Ready?
phone. You get off your phone, you millennial.
I really don't like shoes.
Welcome to the Lone Wolves podcast.
Are we rolling?
Yeah,
Are you sure?
yeah.
Season 2. We don't even have a theme song. Work on that.
I like the one I made.
I know, but season 2 has to have like a little bit of something.
So, do I need to make a new song?
Yeah.
All right.
Season
Well,
2 Lone Wolves.
I'm not going to make it before we post this. So,
we're back.
do we
for
have to?
season
Do we have
2.
to make new graphics too?
No.
Okay.
That's how you keep a good brand going.
Okay.
But we're here, Lauren
Yeah.
Blitzer-Wright and Drew Thurlow in
Yeah.
our new Digs podcast studio.
Yeah, a content studio. This is the Lone Wolves office north.
North of Manhattan.
Yeah, not that far north. But do you want to ask me about my hoodie or
No.
anything?
Oh, I didn't even notice.
Oh, you didn't?
You haven't said it 17 times.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Berklee College of Music. Why
Yeah.
are you wearing that sweatshirt?
Yeah, so in the summer, late July, I did a talk at Suno. Yeah, it was actually at Berklee for Suno, the AI music company, and went well. And the dean of Berklee's music business program offered me a teaching gig. So now I'm an adjunct professor at Berklee teaching.
They'll let anyone in.
Well, they let me in, and that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
But I'm teaching innovation and strategy in music business. And then next semester, I'm teaching their AI class.
That's amazing. That makes sense.
Yeah. And then I'm doing a talk at NYU in February. And then I think I'm teaching their music and AI class in next fall.
They will be lucky to have you.
So thank you.
Those kids need to know.
Yeah. I got to say I'm impressed because these are like third year juniors and they know their shit. Like it's not like, oh, this is the difference between masters in public performance and mechanical. It's like these kids know their shit and it's pretty high level. So we can get into some good stuff. It's been fun.
It's kind of wild to think that all this stuff existed when we were in college too, but I feel like there was this idea that you just do what you love and you'll figure it out after you graduate. And now the pressure from these like Gen Zers to like, oh, you're going to be in music. Now you're going to be a music business major or whatever it is. And you're going to know all of these things coming out of it. Do you think that's necessary or is it helpful or is it just like putting the bar up here to create so much pressure for kids going into college to know what they want to do?
I mean, music business is the one thing that most people who work in the music business didn't get a degree in.
Right.
And you don't see that in other sectors of the economy, certainly with like trade schools or
of course,
like
right.
engineering or something or finance, but it is helpful now.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm thinking about the best music business programs in the country, UCLA, Syracuse, NYU. Those kids have an advantage. There's a pipeline to internships and jobs when they're done. They really do graduate.
If
like,
you can get
knowing,
school.
If you can get in, they do graduate knowing shit.
Yeah.
And I think that probably wasn't true 20 years ago, where the best path in was internships or knowing somebody or working.
Or just like applying for an entry-level job.
Yeah.
I feel like it was just, I was an art history major. I had no business getting any job anywhere except for a museum. And it just felt like, oh no, you just apply for an entry-level job because you have a liberal arts degree. So you figure it out.
Yeah. And I think it was the competitiveness and the need to get in your foot in the door and how it's harder and harder to get your foot in the door. Like the music business degree from a good program matters. And there's a bunch in Nashville too, Belmont, especially.
Oh yeah.
So
they probably know more than some people inside the major labels.
Oh my God. I did this.
What?
I did this. It's true. I did this post on LinkedIn like a few months ago. That was like 90% of the people in music don't know this. And I just broke down all the royalties.
I love when you put those
and
on.
like people lose their minds because it's true. Most people don't know the difference.
Right.
And people are like telling me I'm wrong and they're wrong.
And it should be like a 101, right?
Yeah.
Like in any job across the field, know this information.
Yeah. But copyright's complicated and it's doesn't make sense. So yeah. But
Totally.
so we're gonna pivot a little bit because I think this is a good segue into what we should talk about in this episode, which is how did we get our start in music? Because we've had the Lone Wolves Slack group, the now 800 strong of us have been asking for some of our personal anecdotes around how we got started. And I think it's certainly very different. But
Very
you
different.
mentioned that you got a liberal arts degree in art history.
Art
And
history,
then,
English lit, and a minor in photography because
wait,
I thought I was going to be. I don't know what I thought I was. I wanted to be an archaeologist. Like that's my dream.
it's not
That
too,
was my.
it's
It's
not too late.
that's what really lights my fire
Oh, well,
is
you kind of went
archaeology.
the other way with that one, huh?
Literally
Yeah.
from NYU.
Yeah.
And I started off, my first job was at Teen Vogue magazine when it was a startup in 2003.
Teen Vogue
Um,
was a startup in 2003.
yep,
Oh,
brand new. Went to 4 Times Square every day, where Condé Nast used to be.
yeah.
And I was there for 2 years, and I went into the nonprofit space after that. I wrote a book, and I landed in music because I knew somebody that worked at Sony, and there was a job open, and I wanted to pivot out of the nonprofit space. And I had an interview. I landed at Red. I literally like had 3 interviews, met Bob Morelli, and he was like, I don't want you for this. I want you for this. And then
Okay.
they hired me, and that was 12 years at the same place, going from Red to bigger Sony. But it was like not
So,
that.
so the connect, there was a personal connection, right? Like you knew
Yes.
somebody.
Yeah.
Okay. And was it like a family friend or was it just random?
Yes, it was a
Okay.
family friend.
Okay.
So it was definitely, and this was in 12, 20,
Yeah.
yeah, around there, 2012. It just, I can't tell you how different it feels being back in the space of kind of applying for jobs, looking around, all of that. It doesn't matter who you know. You can know the president of the company, you still can't get a job now. Like it just feels so different. It felt like it feels like this big job cycle is happening now and everybody is in the flow. Back then, it was just like, I went in, the job was open. I don't even know how many other people applied for it, but it wasn't like it is now.
Yeah.
And it's hard to compare the two. So I feel, I feel the pain for those even just graduating college now and trying to figure out where they want to be in the music space and how difficult that is and how seeing these jobs for $20 to $22 an hour
In 2025.
in 2025 when
Yeah.
McDonald's pays $18 to $25 an hour.
Yeah. So you grew up in Manhattan.
Yes.
Do you think that was an advantage?
100%.
Yeah, because you had the connection to someone.
Since growing up in Manhattan, going to private school, you are connected.
Yeah. Right.
So it was just, I felt incredibly lucky to be, even when it comes to doctors or, oh, my friend's father's ahead of oncology. They're like, it's been real. I've had a really, I would say, easy time, like sort of getting into the door, getting the best care or whatever it is. But like I was just saying, even now, it is hard. It's hard no matter who you know.
I mean, I think what you're saying is New York's the best place in the world.
Oh,
I would agree.
that's where I live and die.
When I first moved to New York, immediately doors were opened to me in ways that never I imagined. And it really is because it's just New York.
It's
Like
really no.
you go, I met, there's an electronic musician I played with called Moby. And if you're over 35.
Called Moby.
No, if you're over 35, of course, Moby. If you're under 35, you have no idea who he is.
So sad.
And I met him because he was just around. And
hey, Moby.
yeah, he lived on Bridgington Street, and I was on the East Village, and I joined a band, and he played with us, and he opened door. He just got session work and stuff. So, and it's just because I happen to be in New York, and it's in no other reason. But back to you. Another thing that struck me about your story too is you started at Red,
Mhm.
and what was unique about this time is that you stayed in the Sony system
Mhm.
for almost 12, 13 years. So you went from Red to,
I went from associate director at Red for about 8 months.
and tell our audience what Red is, because it doesn't exist anymore.
Red doesn't exist. It was Red Distribution. I think the closest thing to it now would be The Orchard.
Yeah.
So it was a distribution company that Sony owned that was heavier on label services. And at the time, that wasn't as popular. Like people weren't opting into the label services part. So basically they slowly sort of didn't take on more artists and then got absorbed into The Orchard when Sony did that full acquisition. That was probably like 6 or 7 years ago.
When I started at Sony as the head of A&R for Masterworks in 2017, I remember going down to the old Red office. It still existed. It wasn't The Orchard yet.
Was it the one on Fifth Avenue or was it the one all the way down on like Varick?
It was on Varick.
Okay, because there was one before that right by the J. Crew on Fifth Avenue on like 15th.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's where I was.
And they were in the process of kind of merging
Yeah.
the Red with the Orchard, because it didn't make any sense to have two separate companies doing
Yeah.
the same thing. But did you feel that at the time? Because did you work for the Orchard after Red, or did you go right to Sony?
I went right to Sony and like literally within 8 months. So by the beginning of 2013, or maybe even the end of 2012, I was already up at 550 Madison.
Oh, so was it your job that transferred, or did you get a new job?
They were just like this. The guy who was doing the job before, I had worked very closely with on a few deals, and he was like, "Hey, I'm going to this other department. I'm referring you for my job." And I was like, okay. So they said, typically we don't do this. You have to be here for a year before you get promoted, but it was 8 months and I took the position, moved up to 550. And then I was, within that marketing department for 8 years. And then the new vice president of business development job came up. Well, they created it and I took that. And then that was history.
Yeah. Then it
kind of everything exploded.
Now it is history. So was it considered it was a promotion and a raise, right? When you went from the Red building to 550 and worked for Sony, and you were always at the corporate structure, right? You weren't at a label.
Never at a label, always within global digital business.
Okay.
Which I preferred because I worked with all the labels. So every deal that I did or every project I worked on was like multi-label, which made it exciting. So you don't have to be like only pitching your Sierras or Columbia for Vic. There was some great times. It was like the beginning of streaming, which was a little bit scary, and a lot of different positions were shuffling and digital spaces were getting, more occupied. But I've had some of my like greatest memories working there, whether it was with the people I worked with or some of the shows I put on dealing with artists that were fantastic. It was great. There was a lot coming out of it and being on the other side. No, I would never go back. Like, I do not want to be a number. I don't want to not be able to be nimble. I don't, especially in this day and age, I don't want that structure anymore. Like it's clearly not working for them either.
No.
But, it was a different time.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because I say this a lot when my consulting work, when people ask me to compare, say, A&R, what's it like? What was it like in early 2000s when I started? I mean, they're completely different industries.
It's like almost like not the same job.
We had a manufacturing and distribution of like physical products to a retail network on trucks, and major label rosters could only be so big. And you had a whole ecosystem at the point of sale in the retail environment.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to a download culture, which was still kind of some product, but it was more like Web 1.0.
Yeah.
And now with streaming, we're media companies. It's a media enterprise with streaming and social and a lot of ad supported revenue market share. And since you started at Sony, essentially you were the tail end of the first phase, but it's been 3 completely different industries.
Completely. And you see music companies, they call themselves tech companies because they really are about like the infrastructure rather than they're not creating music. We're sending the music, but it's become so much less about the art than it was before.
Yeah. And I think I know why. And I say this when I consult with these VC and PE guys. The major label rosters could only be so big when you had to make a lot of investment in each artist.
You have to create product too.
Manufacture products.
Yep.
And then when you have limited radio slots and limited shelf space on retail, you can't have huge rosters. You have to double down on those artists.
Totally.
You have to give them time. It wasn't like this when I started, but in the 70s, famous story like Genesis had 3 flops before they became global stars.
Most artists did. They had like, even my wife, 2 failed albums and then had a Billboard #1.
So, and it happened at the time when labels were patient.
Yeah.
So it was about the art, because you were like really, you were making an investment in what you thought would be an asset, but at the same time, like you had invested a lot in that one asset and that artist and making products. So you were willing to like give them some time. And
that strikes such a chord, because there's some artists too that I saw that I was like, these emerging artists that did really well on their first album. And then the second one, not as good. And then the attention's gone.
Yeah.
The label's like, nah, we're not going to pay attention to that. Let's shift to the next thing. It's like that level of investment no longer exists unless, of course, you are Adele or Beyonce or one of those.
Yeah, but they came up in the old system. They had the benefit of the investment. So now major label rosters, I think when I was at Warner's in the early 2000s, I think the Warner Brothers roster was probably about 40 artists with maybe 12 active at any one given month. And now you have 12 active a day,
Right.
with major label rosters over the course of a year might have 300 or 400 artists, and you're probably releasing 12 combination of priority singles and albums every day, or at least every
Yeah.
Friday. And it's it's just a media business now. It's an attention economy. And when you're in it day to day, like you were for over 12 years, I wonder, like, you don't really sense that. It just kind of slowly evolves.
Well,
But
you still think about it in those big releases because that's kind of what the company was focusing on. So if you boil it down to those 10 or 40 of what you're talking about in the olden days, that still exists. Like you look at the new release sheet and you can identify the ones that you're supposed to be paying attention
Yeah.
to. And then the ones that you were like, oh, we could slot these into smaller opportunities. But you know when there was like a Harry Styles album that was coming out, it's
Yeah.
like all attention is on that
and
song.
sometimes like Rob Stringer, who runs Sony, would email the entire label group
Yeah.
and be like, guys, even if it wasn't, I had nothing to do with Adele.
Right. It's like all hands on deck.
It's like, guys, Adele is coming. This is important.
This is it. Like this
Even
makes
though I
her.
was like at another imprint not doing, but yeah, so that
Yeah.
matters. Yeah, it's changed a lot. I mean, I had a different experience than you did getting involved in the music industry. I grew up in Rhode Island, and the music industry couldn't have felt further away. I didn't know anyone involved in entertainment.
Mm.
It was completely different. And I moved to New York in 2003 just because I wanted to see what happened.
That's wild.
And it went pretty well.
Yeah.
It was a pretty vibrant music community then.
Mhm.
Indie rock was like all the rage.
Totally.
There was like an ecosystem around it that was like employing people and giving people opportunities. I played with some well-known indie rock bands at the time.
You could walk
and-
into any bar downtown on like Bleecker Street, like all
Yeah.
of the live shows that were happening.
I
was
lived
incredible.
I lived Park Slope for a year, and then I lived on 5th and B for 5 years after that, and until I was 30. And like I could walk to and play Shanae, Mercury Lounge,
Yeah.
Tonic, Fat Baby, Rothko. There were so many, all these clubs that I would play.
know,
And
so
many more I'm
amazing.
forgetting. And that was how I got into working in the industry, because I played with some people that were well known, and then an assistant job at Atlantic came up in A&R.
Mhm.
And I didn't get that job, but the people in the music group really liked me, and like, we're going to find you something. We think you have your head on straight.
Nice.
And so I ended up at None Such, an imprint at Warner's in 2005, which was the kind of, when I started, there was one person doing digital at the entire Warner Music Group. We had just done the iTunes deal.
Yep.
And she was responsible for
like everything. Right.
everything.
Yeah.
And then when I left, it was kind of flipped. Everyone
Yeah.
was doing digital.
Yeah.
And there was like one person still managing the physical.
And it's funny, there's like still one person finishing the physical because you can't completely let it go.
Yeah, I know. So, and then what my next job in music was, I was the first music hire at Pandora. Pandora didn't exist when I started at Warner's. And I always think of that. Like, and it was when I joined in Pandora in 2011, it was already a public company. It was small,
Yeah.
but it was like a known entity. And I just always remember, like, where's the next opportunity going to come from? You don't know.
Right. And it's
It might
kind of
not
where we're at
exist.
now, by the way.
It might not exist.
You think about that point of being at Pandora and thinking like, oh my God, like 2 years before you took that job, the company didn't exist.
Yeah.
That's a perfect mirror of like where we are now. That was very much like going from physical to digital and seeing that explode. And now we're going from digital to what? There's the AI assistant part of it. There's like,
it was like digital to streaming, and now we're like streaming to, like, I think about it as like post-streaming IP monetization.
yeah.
Because with like all of these tech startups and all the nascent and soon to becoming AI deals
Yeah.
that are going to be announced, I think some of them by the end of the year, to I'm a huge, very bullish believer in the AR, VR, mixed reality world future,
Really?
where music is going to be like essential to those which I think is going to be, people are going to spend a lot of time.
Like those
Yes.
experiences are going to be
And-
related.
And I just think that like streaming, I think, is going to be still a way people engage with music for a while, but I wouldn't assume that it's going to be the music industry's biggest driver of monetization.
I think it's just becoming like very passive. Like think about popping in like a cassette in your car when you were younger and like you're like, okay, this is what I'm listening to now. Like I do it too. Like with Spotify, I'm like, all right, this is a playlist, and I'll go walk the dog. I'm not really interacting with the app at all. I'm just sort of like using it as this passive source of music. And I think that's the opposite of what they want you to do. They want you to go on when you get the pop up, like Taylor Swift's new album, or like buy this merch. And I feel like that's becoming less and less of a thing because there's all these other ways. Like now at ChatGPT, you could go and literally make a merch purchase through the platform without leaving. Like there's so many different ways to interact with music now that we don't need to just go to one place, to Spotify or to Apple Music.
And I don't think it's Gen Z and whatever generation comes after that. Is it Alpha? Do they have a term
Are
yet?
they born yet? Alpha? Yeah, I think
it's that.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, we just can't assume that they're going to like spend their free time doing stuff like that.
Right.
And I think the industry's relationship to technology is way better. I mean,
Yes.
It was a disaster during file sharing. It was okay during the download, and it was it was starting to get warm during streaming. But I mean, Spotify and the DSPs launched in Europe in 2005. Didn't launch in America till 2010.
Right.
Like that was a huge mistake. But I think the industry has learned that they need to befriend technology. And I'm very encouraged by the way they're managing this AI revolution. And I think that's why we're going to see music used in all these different environments in ways that we haven't even really conceived of yet. That's going to bring a lot of money to the industry. So to bring it back to like, where are you going to work if you want to work in music?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you'll probably be a music person, but it might not necessarily be at a traditional music company. It could be at like a metaverse company or a hardware company or a brand or an agency.
I think that's a good way of looking at it.
Or you're working for an AI model that has Sora 2 is a great example. They have an AI model, man, music AI model now built into the product.
You're obsessed with Sora.
It's amazing.
Yeah, just is not a plug. He's not getting paid, but like obsessed.
It's so fun.
I know. I
love AI. I love it. I love AI.
But I think people, and myself too, stop thinking about AI as this thing that's like stealing copyright information or infringing in some way, and looking at more as like a very helpful tool in a lot of ways.
So here's the thing about the copyright discussion. It's going to get resolved very soon.
Right.
And then it's going to be in the rear view mirror.
But that was the biggest threat. Like when I was still at my tail end of Sony, the biggest threat, it was like only people focusing on AI at the moment was legal, because all of those leaks that came out, like with, using Beyonce's voice to cover an Ariana Grande song or Travis Scott, and how good it was. How good.
Yeah, the vocal models, the text really good.
The vocal models were, and they were like, shit.
But the industry is now understands this shit, and they've been really good at monetizing that and not suing them to oblivion and doing deals. The Weeknd just did a partnership with Hook Music, which is a startup I really like, where they allow fans to kind of remix and play with stems and mash up. And it's all above board. It's all approved by artists and rights holders. Nice. It's giving fans the behavior they want to do. And it's, instead of suing them to oblivion to protect what they have in streaming, which is what the industry playbook would have been 10 years ago, they're like bringing this under the fold and like working with these partners to make it better.
And when you mix that track, like with all of the approved stems and everything, can that person then put it on the DSP?
In the particular Hook's case, no. But the Weeknd actually liked one of the mashups so good that he did release it. So great, right?
I mean, great, yeah.
Yeah. So where's the next job going to come from for people working in music? Like, there's a lot of tech people now. It's a lot of product people, development people, and machine learning engineers.
Like, think outside of the major label level. Like, that's really the message. I think, like, especially considering like the purge that happened within that space too. Like, they're not hiring. Even like the Spotify's of the world, like they're not hiring.
No.
So like looking at all of these, like you said, the tech, the direct to fan platforms that are coming out, the ones that are doing some good fundraising, like even if it's a Series A, whatever it is, if you're raising $10-20 million, somebody believes in you and you have some runway.
Yeah.
But looking at those platforms that are looking to help those mid-tier artists, and we'll get into those in a minute, but there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah. We're going to get into those in the next episode.
So I think that's it for us today.
Yeah.
I'm going to change my shirt so we can film another one. It looks like
behind the
secrets.
But this is the Lone Wolves podcast.
Like, follow, share, and we'll see you next time.